Greetings from the heart of the Great White North, Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. My name is Matt McGregor, the hero of time management, and I am here with my unlicensed medical professional, Dr. Luigi, Zach Lamotte. How the hell are you?
Word for word. I'm doing extremely well. How about yourself?
I'm doing awesome. We are here Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about some games and some different ideas that we have moving forward for the show, as well as maybe a spooky topic.
Yeah, we're all the way.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be fucking great.
Cool.
Thank you.
So like I just kind of mentioned, today we're going to be focusing more on a longer format show to have more of an in-depth discussion with a few brain-busting topics.
Absolutely. So we're all the way up here in Ontario, Canada, and we're going to give her. Matt and I are going to try a new format going forward. So anybody who's watched our previous stuff, feel free to comment on that. What we want to try to do is focus more on, I guess, like experiences that we have with games. Like we're going to try to do like a lot of screenshots with video capture with like the PS4 and stuff like that, and try to like, you know, get each other's reactions and do more like discussion based. So you'd want to check it out after you've beat a game, or at least one of the formats. You want to check these out after you beat the game, because there'll be plenty of spoilers, and just sort of like, you know, do our thoughts and ideas align? You know, talk about what's frustrating about games, what's pulled on our heartstrings, what, you know, we fell in love with, whichever. So that's what we're going for.
Right. And in conjunction with that, we also want to do more short form reviews. So in the past, we'd post a review that could have been anywhere from 5 to 15 to 20 minutes, like somewhere in that pocket. And we don't have an opportunity to really get into what we felt about the game. We're trying to review it objectively while having a subjective slant on it. But at the same time, we felt that these videos might be a little bit too long. And what is actually interesting about what we're talking about is kind of missed because we're trying to tighten things up so much. So I think with this new format, we're going to try a few different things and see what works and what doesn't. And we'd love to hear some feedback from yourself, the audience. So please leave some comments. 100% bring on the negative, because that's what we want. We want to be able to make a better, finer show for yourselves as well as us.
Yeah, absolutely. If you find it boring, or like sometimes I'm watching our videos and like I'll be talking for 10 years and I'm just like falling asleep. It's just like, you know, let us know, good or bad.
Yeah, you should be here.
Yeah, exactly. I should probably be here. Like, I hear you. I'll try.
So for today's main, we're going to have two major topics, and the first one is going to be we're going to look at a list of the top games of the first half of 2017. So we've played a few of these games, some that we haven't, but we have looked into them a little bit. We've looked at a few different videos, a few different reviews, and see what we kind of thought, like, is this our type of game? Is it not? Even though a lot of these games have gotten very great scores, we might just say, like, you know what, we're going to pass on this particular product because it's just not for us, right? So the first one we're actually talking about is Resident Evil 7. That was the first big game to come out for 2017 back in January, and we did play that one over maybe 3 or 4 little sessions, and we kind of played it not co-op, but we just passed the controller back and forth. And
yeah, we traded off.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you feel about Resident Evil 7?
Okay, so, well, that one's the one with VR. That sounded like terrifying. Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I had mixed feelings about it. There was a lot of frustrations. I definitely, so you recommended that I played the demo, which like rocked my world. I was really excited about Resident Evil 7. After I played the demo, I was just like really pumped about it. We started the game
very PT-like, right?
Exactly.
No weapons really. You're kind of just waking up. You don't really know what to expect, and it's more of like that walking simulator around the house to trying to escape the actual property. So it really set a really cool cadence before you start playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so, and there's still, don't get me wrong, we had some great moments. Again, a lot of frustrating moments, a lot of things like that just like, you know, made us laugh, which at the end of the day is still entertaining. So like, I'll never scratch points off for something like that. For example, when you get like your arm chopped off.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like how about,
Mia, what the hell's going on here? You find your wife. So you start to give some context to that. You go into this swamp bayou, Southern America, not South America, but Southern United States.
Right.
I get confused by like
that's Mexico.
So you're going to look for your wife, and she's been missing. You thought she was dead for like 2 years, and you get this notification that she is alive and well. And very reminiscent of like almost like a Silent Hill 2 kind of storyline.
Right.
And you find her, and it's just the premise is so cool, but the execution in terms of the not cutscenes, I guess, but the story aspects are just so poorly done in terms of like the delivery.
Yeah.
And like the direction, the idea of like you found your wife and you'd be like, oh my God, like I haven't seen you too. You're like, what? Are you okay? Like, and she's like in this cage, and she's like out of it
for like well over a year or something.
Yeah, and then like so she.
How about love your wife?
I know.
What's going on here, Mia?
Yeah, it's very like soap opera, like in that sense. But and then when you're talking about like the laugh portion, like where you kind of get your arm, is it a chainsaw at that point, right?
Right. Yes.
And it's just that the delivery is like, ugh.
Yeah. Sound like you're like passing a tumor, passing a kidney stone or something like that. Like,
But then the best part is like you just staple it back on because like your hand does get cut off. It's like and it's right back to normal.
Yeah.
You know, or like if you're hurt and you just you're dunked like the first aid spray on it, you're like, oh yeah, I'm good.
Oh fuck it. Yeah. The okay. So when I play the demo as well, like the type of problem solving really appealed to me, which I didn't get too much of when we actually play the game. In fact, it kind of like 180'd on me, and so like I'm gonna finish this thought while I've got it, because I actually forgot about this until now. But so in the demo, you do this puzzle where you put in a tape into the VCR, you play it, and then you are the camera guy. So the like sub story there is like you're a camera guy. You like see the the van where all your equipment is, and like this guy's like harassing you for being like the noob like camera guy or whatever. Yeah,
the lead anchor, or the lead of that. It's like a Ghost Hunters television show.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's like a fake reality show where they're going into this hunt in this abandoned building.
Right. And then so when you're approaching the home, the problem solving there is like you find something out during that filming, and again, like, so you're the camera guy, so like, I even got into it in a sense that like I was like getting shots that I feel like I would as like a camera guy or something like that, which is like my own fun thing.
Right.
But then and like that part's really scary too. So like go down into the little I didn't want to go down in there, and like the weenie anchor man was like, you go first so that I could so you could get me coming down the ladder or whatever. I was like, fuck you. Anyway, I wish I could talk in games, because I'd be like, no, I think the angle would be cooler, would be more important and telling.
Convincing him. It'd be so hard to coach.
Yeah, instead you're silent the whole time.
If player argues with you, then
hit square twice. Anyways, so the fact is like when you're you go into the chimney thing, and you hit the button, and then the thing opens, and then so and this is all happening in a video that you're watching, so that when the video's done, you go back into your character, and then how to advance to the next like area of the game.
You know where the switch is in the chimney now to open like the side panel in the wall,
exactly,
to go into that scary room.
Yeah. And that's cool, because it's like, obviously we're at a different point in time, so that's like changed a bit, so you have like expectations. Anyway, I thought it was brilliant, and I was really looking forward to more of that. And then what ended up happening is these videos that like didn't make any sense. So you're no longer a camera guy. Now, for whatever reason, you're holding a camera and like doing like at points you could actually see both your hands, but you're like what do you gotta like duct tape to like your fucking head or something like that. Anyways, didn't like that, and also again, I didn't find there was any more like troubleshooting or like problem solving a la VCR. It was more like, okay, we've established this, now we're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want to fill out the game and like take advantage of this like gimmicky mechanic.
Right. So, and I agree. I think that they had a hard-on for that idea, right? They were so in love with that idea. And for good reason, because it is really, really cool the first time. And like, how do we do this again? Like, well, it's hard to fit that in over and over again. The one that I did feel that it did succeed was when the brother has you, the son, and he has you like in a saw like trap where you're in a room and you have a bunch of little items to collect, and then you have to make your way to this birthday cake that's there in that room.
Right.
But you're set up for failure. Like, you're not supposed to win.
Right.
Like, he wants you to ultimately die.
Right.
And then you end up in that same location about 45 minutes into the game, but in the present time instead of in the past. So you're playing it, and then you know what's going to happen, so you can kind of F with the rules of the game that the bad gentleman is trying to give you, and then you can kind of F with it and you can beat it so that you can escape. So I thought that one was really cool, and then that first one you had discussed, I think the showing of the past and then showing in the present actually made for like a really interesting game mechanic.
Right.
I thought it was like super cool. But
yeah, for
I
sure.
agree, like it became it wasn't implemented properly. The rest of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's not even far off from amazing. Like, I feel like with some minor tweaks and changes, for example, like seeing both of your hands, or like creating like a video sequence where you need both of your hands, first of all, like, should be right out. It should be something that, like, again, if they just took the time to, like, with some continuity and just made sure that everything was taken care of, like, that would have made a world of difference for me, because I pay attention to those kinds of details for whatever, I guess I'm a negative bastard or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we're barely friends. And so, so for example, even with that, like, yeah, absolutely, I agree. That one was really cool, and that one you do the first time in video, and then you do it again, and like you were saying, like, that's when you're able to, like, defy the rules of the game, because you realize that you do this and you die. How are we going to not do that? Which is super badass. But again, like, if it just even started off with something like, the camera comes up and, like, I found this camera here, or something, like, just some kind of, like, little segue into why you're filming, why you're there, like, because if it was me, I'd be so terrified that, like, I wouldn't be controlling a camera. Like, I want both my arms for, like, defense and like karate chopping.
Throw up your hand.
But yeah, so
you never know.
So all great ideas. I just feel like with some very small, like, detail work, that it could have been really amazing.
I agree. When you said it's just a little bit off center of amazing, and I think that's correct. I think it's just good. I think they're in a really, really cool direction for the series. I hope that they continue on with this first-person style where you're exploring a mansion. I thought that was really cool, like a kind of a throwback to the original Resident Evil, basically the original Resident Evil, where you have like one location to and the external of that location to explore and figure out, the scorpion key or the blue jewel goes in here. And I like that idea. I think that's really, really cool as a throwback, because 5 and 6 really got away from them, and it became more of a third-person shooter that zombies happen to exist in as well.
Right.
And those games didn't do very well. So I think this is like a really, really cool step forward for them. I think if they take the basic premise and the basic ideas that they have for this game and apply it to Resident Evil 8 or whatever they want to call it, I think they will have something pretty special on their hands. Yeah. Barring this is kind of a segue into the more ending of the game, but the portion where I want to touch upon the characters too. Like I think the hillbilly family, the Bakers, are really cool. Yeah. I think like that idea of each of them being like their own little boss for this section of the game was really
Texas
cool.
Chainsaw Massacre-esque.
Very much so. Like even like that, like the scene where they're sitting around like the dinner table and everything like that. Like that's like you can tell that was their big inspiration. Was like that, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre / like almost like a House of a Thousand Corpses style movie with this like crazy hillbilly family.
Rob Zombie,
Devil's Rejects,
Mr. Zombie,
Halloween 1 and 2. Yeah. And he did another movie recently. I haven't heard of it. 31, 30, 32.
Nothing.
I might just be saying numbers at this point. I think he did. We'll look into that. We'll let you know. But at some point when Zach's talking, I'll look up the latest Rob Zombie movie on my phone.
I'll drift off.
Great story, Zach. Could have used a vampire though. So I just wanted to touch upon like those characters, and definitely they were terrifying. It blended this. We're gonna talk about this a little bit later, but this idea of the new type of horror games that are out there where you don't have a weapon and you're being hunted and you can't even like kill like the thing that's after you.
Right.
You're just hiding. So like Alien Isolation or Outlast. That one we went in like you're in the mental institution.
Yep.
Like those types of games, or Slender Man or whatever. Slender.
Oh yeah.
So like they blended that very well with these things that you can't really kill, in with actually being not as vulnerable, where you actually have a shotgun and a pistol and etc. So I think they blended that old school with the new school very, very well. And I thought like picking this Hillbilly Family was a very, very cool way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, like in the twist near the end, like regarding the Hillbilly Families, there's got to be a better word.
Baker family. Sorry. South United States.
Southern States individuals. Peoples of the South. Because actually, I'm really curious about that. It's like, if anybody's listening, so Matt and I beat the game, and like we've been playing survival games for a very long time, and like our styles of playing these types of games are pretty similar in a sense that like we're hyper conservative with our shit. So like gun ammunition, everything, like every time we could use the knife, we would do it. And again, like we played Resident Evil 1 through 5 and 6, a little bit of 6.
Right on. Right here. Over here. It's like,
always the thumbs up.
Leon, what are you doing?
The bouncy, like the weird, it's so fucked up.
Sorry, continue.
So we were extremely conservative with our guns and ammunition, and we found sometimes like when we're really low, we would get more. So we were wondering at the end of the game, like, because we would redo parts, like sometimes we'd get through a part and be like, you know what, we're not happy with that. Like we only have like 2 shotgun shells left. We have like a clip. That's not cool. Let's restart and do it again until like we get those like headshots and shit. It was like really tedious and probably tacked on like 2 or 3 hours to the entire game for us. So if we were really curious to know at the end, like if you like go ham with your ammo, like does it appear more? Because sometimes we'd open drawers and be like nothing. Right. So we were curious as to whether or not like those drawers would constantly be filled up if we were less conservative.
Right. So if exactly, does the game realize you're running low on ammo, or is there a finite amount of bullets within the game? So if you know, please, if you're able just to let loose on your every gun you had, that's awesome. Because I wish that we had known that, because it would have saved us again like that 2-3 hours, because we'd go through the basement and there was the mud monsters in the basement. Yep. And we'd get through the Mudmen. That's right. The last name. Mudmen.
We were just pissed off at the Mudmen. Like, like they're cool monsters, but there's just too many and too little ammo. Right. And I was kind of missing the zombies, to be honest with you. I was hoping that they would show up at some point. Yeah.
And again, the Mudmen are cool, but exactly where I felt not that the ammo scarcity was making me feel more scared, but more frustrated, because how do we ever get past the next part of this game if we didn't save all that ammo, right? So I think that's the part. Don't. Okay. Sorry. Okay, sorry.
By the way, by Mudmen, we mean like the creatures in the game that are like made of tar or some shit, not the Celtic rock warriors based in, I think they're from Ontario. Ooh, they're on NBC and WWE.
And Don Cherry's hockey segments. No way. Hey. It'll always be WWF.
That speaks to me.
That's WWE. I think they're mold creatures, not Mudmen.
Right, yeah. They're made of mold.
Sorry, I'm gonna.
The only way to deal with those people.
I just want to do. I'm gonna read a quick. So if the Mudmen are listening, hit us up at, well, I guess at GameSetMatt for Twitter. If you guys have Twitter, send me something. This article is about the Canadian rock band for the instrumental by Pink Floyd See Mudmen. Okay, that's something else. Okay, Mudmen are a Canadian Celtic rock band that formed in Alvinston in 1998, initially comprising of vocalists, blah, blah, blah. And, they had bagpipes too?
Yeah, they had bagpipes.
Oh, Jesus.
They played at Peddler's Pub.
Right, that's so silly of me. How did I not know that?
They're a St. Paddy's Day sensation in Sudbury.
The Mudmen have released 9 studio albums. The band is best known for their singles 5 O'Clock Saturday and Drink and Fight. Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Half, okay. And then they've been in a few video game stuff. So to swing it back to our game talk is that they were in the game Burnout 3 Takedown and MX versus ATV Unleashed.
Again, was Burnout 3 that like 3D game that you showed me? Is that like Burnout?
No, Burnout's like a racing game.
So that was a racing game you showed me.
This one's Burnout 3 is like a PS2 game.
Oh.
And it's a lot more like you're destroying other vehicles as well as you're trying to kill your opponents as well as like
Twisted Metal, but on a racetrack.
That's right, exactly. But I think if you kill them, they just keep coming back. Like you're just like permadeath or anything like that.
I see. Right.
It's actually a really really cool game. We'll look into that.
We'll see.
Okay, so in terms of the. So I googled exactly. So I'm fire up the thing and he googled Mudmen. So they're like the mold people, and this is gonna transition nicely into the to the part I felt I wasn't super crazy about in terms of the game was when you get off of the Baker estate, like the swamp village or that village with the swamp main mansion or whatever, and you go onto the ship.
Right.
I thought the ship part was like the weakest part of the game.
Yeah. That's because you didn't do most of it, and I did, and it was terrifying.
No, I know.
That's probably the worst, most scary part was that bullshit in the square.
Yeah. I know.
It was bad.
And you had like no ammo, and you were trying to get around like the four or five of the new Mudmen, the quick Mudmen.
Ones that leap at you.
Right. I know.
Yeah, that was scary. So I probably lost 3 or 4 years of my life.
But even the story progression of that whole part just seemed to come out of nowhere. Like it didn't seem like to fit in the overall tone of what that game happened to be. Even with it became more of a scary shooter. You know what I mean? Instead of like a survival type of game.
I didn't mind it. Like, okay, so it went, I felt like, okay, so even like when we started the game, I was like, okay, here's how this is going to go. We're going to fight in the mansion for a while. Then we're going to end up in some like industrial lab or like, like underground, whatever. And then we're going to beat the game. So I feel like that ship replaced the spooky laboratory.
Right.
And
we actually got the spooky laboratory too.
Did we?
Because we escape the ship and then we go through like, those mines. And there's a spooky laboratory that's talking about because you had to do like weird stuff too, like the blending of like the hand and the foot, you know what I mean, and the head. You know, we're making the serum and stuff.
Right.
And they're trying to explain the lore of what is going on. What's the source of like the mud, the mold, or what?
The Moldmen.
The Moldmen. That's right. And that again, I just felt that became so much less interesting once the Baker families were taken care of, or Baker family members were taken care of. It just became the mold people, and it just wasn't fun anymore. I think in terms of like more like sneaking around in that piece, and then the big reveal. Then again, spoilers, like we mentioned at the beginning. But that little girl, like her character gets introduced at this point essentially, and that whole part becomes like convoluted as hell.
Right.
And then it ends up being the old woman.
Yeah.
Who
we called
like right away. Like we thought it was gonna be her. Like midway. I'd say like midway through the game, I guess. Right.
And it wouldn't let me kill her.
We tried. Yeah.
We tried to kill her. We were just like, why don't we just sidestep this landmine and kill her right now while she's in the wheelchair? I can't do it. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the Resident Evil series in general, they always like tack on like 4 or 5 hours that are like unnecessary. Like they could even do like the whole underground lab, like spooky laboratory shit. Like they could do that in such like a condensed way that like exposes you to what's happening, shortens gameplay, and like gets like if the makers of Resident Evil are listening in now, here's my message. It doesn't have to be a super long game.
Totally.
If it ended like shortly after like we got to the mansion, I would have been like, awesome. That was a great experience.
Me too.
Like, and I would have still like paid the full price for it. Like, you don't have to tack on the hours. There was like, even in the ship, like that was like, I feel like 3 hours longer than it needed to.
Agreed.
I'm not sure if he was even that long, but like respectively, or relatively.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, so that like, okay, so the spooky part that I did in the square, like, I feel like that should have been like it. Like,
Right.
and I thought it was really cool how you're seeing like the ghosts of the Christmas past, the ghost of the ship, and like you're kind of seeing these like visions of those like folks, and they're like, where are the weapons or whatever, and they're kind of like talking about like, and they're like, we can escape through this hatch and shit. Like that shit is cool, but again, just like too much of it.
Right.
I felt like the length of the mansion was perfect. It was really good, and then you go outside a little bit, and then you fight the spooky spider. And then you're back in the mansion for the rest, like very classic Resident Evil. But just like in most of the games, again, that last bit just bothers me.
Agreed. Anything else you want to touch upon for Resident Evil?
No, I think that's it. I think we're ready.
So that one, so for Resident Evil, I feel that we're going to have the most to say about that game. So the next few games, we're just going to touch upon very, very briefly. We just want to get through some of the more AAA, better reviewed games of 2017 that happen to be up to this point. And so the next giant release for 2017 was For Honor. And this was a new IP released by Ubisoft. And the function of this game, or I guess the general concept is, it's a very tactical, melee-driven type of game where there's 3 different factions. So it's very, very, I want to say, fiction-based, because none of these like really interacted, right? So there's Vikings, knights, samurais.
Right.
So it's just for like all-out mayhem. It's
Just
just for fun.
like warriors of the approximate era, fighting each other,
Right. So
in the cage of death.
I enjoyed the Christmas Past one so much. And the combat system is very, very deep in this one. So and each have like their own strengths, weaknesses, being like fast or slow or whatever. And the majority of it, I believe, is like multiplayer. So you're looking at, I think there's 1-on-1 battles, 2-on-2 battles, and like 4-on-4 battles. And that's it seems when I first look at For Honor, I think of the idea of it being so shallow. When we talked about if you paid for Resident Evil 7 and it was just like the mansion, and be like, that's fine, I'd still pay full pop for it. Me too. For Honor, when I'm looking at For Honor, I see it and I'm like, that looks like I'd have fun with for the afternoon or an evening or something. But it got really strong reviews just in the sense that the melee combat is so deep.
Right.
So it's apparently very fun to pick up, but once you've mastered it, that's when things really, really open up.
Slow down. Oh, okay.
Really, I think open up for people, right? They say, like, I'm really, really liking, like, apparently it's like one of the best melee combats that have been built.
Right. Yeah. This one, Ubisoft Montreal, right? And so
you're right.
Yeah, they did a lot of some of my favorite games, like the Assassin's Creed series, and we played a lot of the Splinter Cell. Yep. Actually, Ubisoft has always done Splinter Cell, right?
Yep.
Ubisoft Montreal. I don't know about Montreal specifically. It wasn't Montreal specifically or wasn't it Toronto?
Toronto's for
that did
for Splinter Cell. Yeah, you're right. That was their first game that they released.
Yeah,
that's a relatively new studio.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And so, from what I was looking, like you sent me the review for it, which was by Brandon Tyrell
of House Tyrell.
That's right. Excellent. Of House Lannister.
Yes. First Game of Thrones reference of the show.
But not the last. And so this one looked like the combat was like the most in depth I've ever seen, which is cool. Like it looks like weapons will be coming at you from directions, so you had to like block those specific directions or whatever, or parry it in those and that sounds really cool.
It does sound like almost like the rock paper scissors concept, right? Like where you have like 3 different choices to make, and then if you make the wrong choice for the blocking of it or the parrying of it, then you get hit.
Oh, right? Really? I thought it was more like skill-based, where like if you were quick enough that you could like see what direction it's coming from and then counter it appropriately.
Totally. I just mean and there's like 3 different kind of facets to kind of swing your sword in.
Gotcha.
But you're right. Yeah, I guess I should have explained that a little bit better, just in the sense that it's not just chance-based. It is very skill-based. Right. And that's what makes me think that this game would be kind of cool. It just didn't speak to me. Like I like the idea of supporting new IPs, but I just didn't think that this game, it just didn't have its claws in it. I needed to know more. To be honest, I felt like they didn't do the best job of marketing this game because I barely knew about this one other than like I think the trailer from E3, and then when the actual like review had come out, I was like, that looks kind of cool.
Right.
Next.
Well, I was gonna say on that one.
Next for me, like
pass.
Yeah. Suck it, For Honor.
Actually, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the from what I understood from the review that you had sent me, the focus was really on like the mechanics and the combat system more than like say the story and characters. Like apparently that was pretty. I don't know. I forget how the guy described it. And obviously, I haven't played it myself, so I can't even find a word to describe what it like. From what it looks like and seemed like, the like main fun you would have in that is by like leveling your character, getting new equipment and shit like that, and then using them in combat.
Right.
Which does sound awesome. Like I'd probably play that for a couple of hours if like I got it on sale, or like if like a buddy had it and I was over, like I'd probably play it like and enjoy it. But in terms of like after watching the review, I didn't feel like I needed to like run out and get it now and pay $70-$80 for it.
Right. Yeah. Same exact for myself. I think that's a very nice tight bow on For Honor. The next game that we were kind of looking at scored very, very well. It kind of came out of nowhere. It's called Neo, and this one was developed by Team Ninja. And Team Ninja, they did like the Ninja Gaiden series.
Right.
I think they also did the Metroid one for Wii, I think.
Okay. I haven't played any of those.
That was like a third-person Metroid game. It was really strange. It wasn't very well received.
Right.
Anyway, so this one is probably the one I know the least amount, but it is like a Dark Souls-esque type of game where it's but it's set, I think, in like more like feudal Japan.
Right.
Is like the actual setting instead of like that gothic castle fantasy based.
Right.
So I felt that this type of game, like everyone loves like the Souls type of game, this like punishing, very rewarding combat, and I can appreciate that. But Neo just doesn't speak to me in that sense. I think it's I respect the hell out of it, but I can't stand like being punished and punished and punished and punished and over again to learn from it. So Neo never spoke to me. Again, I got very great reviews, like nines and a half.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just not for me.
Right. Yeah. It's from again what Matt sent me the review for this one. I took a peek and I noticed right away, like I'd watch it right after the For Honor review, and so this one, in contrast to that, seemed like again it's like third person hack and slash type. Obviously, the combat mechanics look a lot less deep, but like in a way. So what I actually liked about what I was showing in the review is that. Another focus on like their stamina bar and shit like that. So
I love that too.
Yeah. Your combat mechanics sort of revolve around like not just like hacking at their like health bar. It's now about like maybe depleting their stamina and then going in for an attack or whatever, which seems really cool and interesting.
That is cool at the end. You can see the enemies their enemies stamina bar.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like 2 bars.
So you can dodge until they're tired out, and then you can come in for the attacks. And I think that is a strategy for probably a lot of like the enemies, especially like the bosses. Like the bosses look pretty like wacky, like in terms of like the scale and the design of like what they look like.
Right. And the boss arenas too look pretty nuts.
Yeah, totally. So I can really appreciate it, and maybe we'll pop it in one day and just be like, we're dumb. This is great.
Yeah, exactly. I've watched so many reviews and game play videos on YouTube where I'm just like pass, and then I'll like get a demo of it or something like that on a free weekend, and I'm just like, this is the best. Like it's really hard to judge on a lot of reviews and stuff like that. This one again is not like my type of thing, but like at the end of the day, I play all sorts of different kinds of games and get different kinds of enjoyment from each. So this is one that, again, like same thing as For Honor, I'd probably like pick it up if it was on sale, or like if a buddy had it, I'd probably like have a really good time with it, but not rushing out to buy that one either.
Watch your elbow on the cup.
Yeah, I know.
I know now. Before we recorded, Zach broke a glass.
Yeah.
And it hurt.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it was fresh glass of water.
Yeah, I just poured it, and like I was right here, and we were like watching a video before, and I just like I frigged up. I like
you can swear, man. You can swear.
Pure glass, and just like boom, and like I experienced it in slow mo, whereas Matt experienced it like in split seconds. So for me, it was like no, and I feel like I could even catch it, but it was like watching a car wreck or something.
But
where
why?
Like, what are you gonna really do about it? But you kind of can, but no, because you're like so entertained. So I was like watching this thing fall, and then after I was like making notes for certain games, and like I just wanted to write like destructive for everything, but I was like subconsciously I think thinking about myself destroying glasses.
Speaking of destroying glasses,
next game,
and that's
Horizon.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn. So this is the next game from Sony's Guerrilla Studio.
I'm really excited about this one.
Same here. And again, this is another one we actually haven't touched. And the reason for myself, I was so looking forward to this game. But it came in such a close proximity to Zelda, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Yeah. But the concept for this game looks so cool. And so these guys did like the Killzone games. And those games were cool, but they never really spoke to me in terms of like something I had to have, right? As being like, I didn't feel like they were like that AAA developer. They were one of in Sony's stable of first party developers, and I think this game has transcended them to that next level.
Right, for sure.
Although I think we did like a lot, like Killzone 1 quite a bit.
That's what I was just gonna say. Actually, for its time, like you and I have commented on that. Like we played that in high school, and specifically when we stayed up all night and then went to school on 2 hours of sleep.
From driving.
Too many kill zones.
Just zoning out.
But yeah, so what? Like we would comment on like for PS2, like the graphics were crazy good, and it was kind of like weird and framey, but like locked framing,
right?
To the point where you're missing frames, but it's very consistent,
right?
So it doesn't bother you as much once you get used to it. But like, I found like again, like Matt, I think your mom picked it up for you, and she's like, "Here, sweetie, this looks like you'd like it." And I was like,
"This glowing red eyes on the cover, just staring at me." Okay.
Honestly, when you showed me the cover, I was like so uninterested, and then we ended up we stayed up like all night, and we like really tried to beat this thing on what like the crushing mode or whatever, like the hardest mode. It was the most amount of bots.
That's right. So it was like a co-op. It was like Horde mode before Horde mode existed.
Right.
Where we're rocking co-op and the soldiers are coming to finish you off.
Right.
And we just happened to find like a really great like choke point, and we did it like all night, like hardest. Yeah. And then we did hard with like 2 versus 2, then 2 versus 3, then we kept adding an extra bot until we maxed out the amount of bots that we could fight. Then we did it. Went to bed.
Yep.
Woke up. Went to have a night. Yeah. Had a nice day of school.
Nice productive day at school.
So anyway, I wanted to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn. So this is their next game, and it looks awesome. So general premise is it looks like to actually be way in the future, even though humanity is more I want to say primitive. They like almost like they're almost like cave people.
Yep.
In that sense, but then all the animals are actually robotic. So it seems like machines had taken over, and we can't confirm this, but that's what the general premise kind of looks like. So it's very open world. It's very like Fallout-esque in terms of like the discussion tree that you're kind of happening. But the combat and is where that game like really shines apparently. So the idea of you're setting up traps and targeting limbs on like this robotic Tyrannosaurus Rex or Brachiosaurus or tiger or whatever it happens to be, and it looks like it looks almost like, because it looks so unnatural, but the way that the animations seem to move and like how gorgeous it looks perfect. It looks like when Guerrilla designed this game, they hit it out of the park, like in terms of like the main character, like the world building, and then the actual like enemies that you're fighting. So I'm so interested in seeing how that story plays out, and I think it did sell like relatively okay. So I wonder if this turns into another big franchise for Sony.
I honestly stayed away from a lot of I didn't watch a review on this one. I have probably the least to contribute to it. Quickly going back to what I was going to say about Killzone is when I was playing the single player, I actually really did like it, and it was one of the first games that I had played that kind of blew my mind atmospherically. So there was one planet I was on.
Hellgast.
The
fact that I know that's upsetting.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the name of the faction?
No, they're the Helgen, aren't they?
Maybe.
They're the Helgen, and then so they're either the Helgen and the planet is Hellgast, or they're the Hellgast.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
And the planet is Helgen.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
I think.
So the planet that you're on is
just cut out that last 8 seconds of me making that description.
So when I was playing that, I felt, and I was playing in headphones at the time, but I felt like at any time the whole planet could just fall apart under my feet. Is this really unique feeling I got from a video game that I had never experienced before. And I thought, so when I found out about Horizon Zero Dawn, I found out that it was Guerrilla Games and that they did the Killzone series. I was actually right away, just on the title and company alone, I was pretty excited about what this company was going to do with this
New IP.
New IP.
Right on.
So I'm really pumped about it.
Same. That's my next thing. So I actually go on holidays from work in a few weeks, and that's the plan. Is
Nice.
I'm gonna power through that one. I want to try and platinum that game before I have to go back to work.
Good luck, schmut.
Speaking of schmut,
Good luck collecting things.
Speaking of collecting things,
Persona.
no, I want to talk about Zelda. So
yeah.
this one consumed me when it came out. So it came out the week after Horizon. So Horizon came out at the end of February, and this came out with the launch of the new Nintendo Switch. And I felt I was still uneasy about it because the last one I had played was Skyward Sword, and that was the last big Zelda release. And that was for the Wii, and I felt that it just. And it might have been the visuals because it was in standard definition versus
Right.
HD. Like I remember,
And you were playing on a large TV.
yeah, and you'd come into the room and you see me playing. You're like, dude, what the hell is this? What are you even doing? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I gotta do it though. Like it's Zelda, and you're like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
And then, so when this came out, I was a little skeptical. It looked really cool. The art style looked very unique, and it looked great. But just didn't want to get my hopes up. I was cautiously optimistic.
Right. Good call.
So I've had a chance to beat it, and you're in the middle of currently playing it right now.
Yes, I'm playing it right now. So we could talk up to and including to where I am now.
They're all
That's the rule.
robots.
Damn it. I knew it.
I knew it. So yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna let you kind of guide the discussion, so I don't let you know.
Yeah,
that,
good call.
That's the Master Sword was in you the whole time. You
I
had
just
it.
had to
You were the Master
sort of
Sword.
pull it out of
Yeah.
the freaking sheath.
That's right.
Okay. Here are my thoughts on Zelda so far. And again, this has a tendency to always change for me in games, and I feel like there's a rhyme to its reason and a reason to its rhyme.
Oh Christ!
I just made that up, man.
Just sneeze in gold.
I sneeze and hits come out. Okay, so and actually, and Matt and I talked about this. We were both initially really unimpressed with the whole it trying to be like a Skyrim in terms of, or any of the other scrolls, where you've got all these resources available to you in the wild, and your job is to go and collect said resources and combine them into things that are going to help you. And so I'm still pretty frustrated with this. Matt's face tells me that it got better for him. Every time I talk about it, he's got this expression you just wait, bro. Because he calls me bro all the time.
I've never said that in my entire life.
So we'll see. Honestly, so initially when I talked to Matt, I told him I didn't like it. The second time I talked to Matt, I was like, dude, this is the best game ever, and I'm having a great time. And then I completely 180'd since then. I still don't have the Master Sword. You gotta get, I went apeshit on finding heart pieces or shrines to get heart pieces, so that I could get the Master Sword, so that I didn't have to worry about it shattering, which I hate. And actually, Matt and my's I guess idea or opinions on this align. So and when Matt was saying it, I felt like he just again completely aligned with my opinions. Anyway, he said that it's not about the items breaking. We're cool with that. The issue is how fast they break. And the cool thing about finding items, and okay, so what's positive about the whole idea behind all of your items breaking is that you can get really ramped up and pumped about finding treasure chests and stuff like that, right? So when I'm in a shrine, I'm extra motivated to go the extra mile. There's this one shrine you go to, and it's this puzzle where you got you stasis the ball, and then you hammer it, and it jumps over the water and then lands, and it's got to get in the ring and stay there.
I know that one, yeah.
Yeah, and then you go into the next room, and you could just end it there, or there's a more difficult version
Behind the shrine, right?
Behind the shrine.
Where you're behind the guy that gives you the spirit orb.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
And it's absolutely, I'm going to do that shit.
Yep.
And that's exactly why. What if it's this really cool, awesome melee weapon or something that's not going to break as much? Anyway, the point is, so there is a positive spin to it, but honestly, it just doesn't give me enough time to get attached to it. And I feel that would just be so much cooler. Again, completely my opinion. Maybe people differ on this, but I'd really love to get the cool silver sword and have time to just be pumped about it and use it. Like, honestly, I feel like it's like one monster later, your weapon's done. Another monster later, your weapon's done. Like, obviously, that's a little bit dramatic, but that's how it feels. And I hate it. I hate it so much. I can't wait to get unbreakable things. And maybe that's the idea. Like, maybe that's the payoff that they're going for, is they torture you until you get weapons. Like what I'm expecting is like find the fairy bow that like just replaces your bow. You never have to get another bow. Like maybe you can get one that shoots 3 arrows or like has some special abilities.
Right.
But I'm like, that's what I'm really hoping for, is like just like eventually get unbreakable items. So that's been extremely frustrating. On a positive note, the horse mechanics are top draw.
Isn't it awesome that
they're so good?
You can literally just let it go.
Exactly.
It just follows the path.
Dude, I didn't find that out until way later. I was like having a dart or something like that, and like dropped it, and like when I came to, like my guy was
passed out.
my horse. Oh, my dart.
Ooh, still on the trail. 3 hours later.
But when I came to, my horse, Fury, was was still on track.
So lame.
And I was like, no way. Like, this is great. So, first of all, like, the horse mechanics are like everything I want in like games like Red Dead Redemption and shit like that. Like, the idea is you don't have to hold any of the buttons. You can use your right stick to like look around and like figure out where you want to go, or just like enjoy the scenery, because games today put so much fucking work into atmosphere, graphics, scenery, lighting, all this beautiful stuff that like I'm fumbling with controls because I'm like 30 years old and I'm not like as good as the kids today. But like, you know, I'm trying to absorb everything I can, but at the same time it's just like the game is screwing me by like eliminating that thumb to, you know, it occupies it on something else. So loved that. And then in addition to that, like, so the difference between say it and Red Dead is like in Red Dead you gotta hold X. That's how you maintain your speed. Yeah. In this game, you tap it once, you're going low speed. Yeah. Tap it again, you're going medium speed. Tap it again, you're running, and then you can still sprint in there. Yeah. So fucking perfect. I love it. It's brilliant. I wouldn't change a thing. Like if I was like the designer and my programmers in the basement did that for me, I'd like, you guys are rock stars. Right. Congratulations, you did it. You can all retire at 35. So that was awesome. And then when I found out that like your horse will once you have a bond with it, it'll like follow trails. Like that's so awesome. Like again, I felt like it's just like 10 out of 10 million, like or 10 million out of 10 in terms of like horse mechanics.
10 out of 10
for
million.
that
that
style
sucks.
of game. I know. It's like 1%. Not even. Yeah, it'd be like 0.01%.
Did you get to? There's a shrine, and it's like surrounded by flowers. Did you do that one?
No. Yes, and you have to path through it.
That's
and you can't step on the flowers.
And,
yes.
And there's that lady there.
Yes. Did you step on the flowers?
That was one of my favorite parts. So did you like make it through without?
I did. Yeah.
Did you?
On the way back, I did not though.
Okay, so you did. Did you trigger like the cutscene?
I guess maybe not. So like I got a talking to after that.
So I went up because I saw it. I didn't even like see the flowers or her, and I step in the flowers, and then she goes like, "Hey, don't step in the flowers. Like that. Those are mine." And she's very nice.
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then then I tried to do like the little path around to get into the shrine, and then say, "Hey, I told you. What did I tell you? Don't step on the flowers."
Do you restart when that happens?
That's right. And then
okay.
And then so she brings you back. And so I go and I'm right at the entrance. I step on the flowers again. She goes like, "That's it." And she loses. She's like, "Ah!" She just runs back and forth like crazy. And then she just starts coming at Link, and it's like a cutscene. And Link's like, "Ah!" And then it just goes black.
No way.
And then you just wake up like by the edge of the river. And then like you just like you can do it again. It's fine.
No way.
But it's so good. Like if you're like to like that point, you like.
You pissed her off.
To that level, like she loses it. It's so funny.
Oh my god, that's crazy. No, I did. I guess I did like phase 1 of that.
Right. Yeah. You get three strikes and you're out. It's so funny, like to like wake to blackout.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah. It's like
you're the hero of time that's like battling all these things and this sweet
crazy
flower
40-foot monsters.
And there's this like sweet flower maiden like just loses it on you. It's so good. But yeah, I have a hard time also like discussing this piece because I don't want to spoil anything for you positively or negatively, but yes, you did touch upon like where I was getting so frustrated with the idea of like my weapons breaking.
Right.
I think the design's idea behind it is to encourage you to try the other weapons in the game.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But I can totally just I wish like each weapon lasts like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
not that time frame, but roughly in terms of like if you were to be battling with it.
Yep.
But it dies out so fast. So
Yep.
I do agree in that sense. But again, I can't comment too
Right,
much.
right.
So again, I am done, and Zach he's completed quite a few shrines and one divine beast.
That's right. Yes.
So he's on his way, and we're actually gonna do a discussion on Zelda, because I think that's gonna be a big one.
Yeah, for sure.
Once he's completed that, so he's like a quarter of the way through, and you've only had it for like a week and change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm on it.
I did like 55 hours. I would guess before I beat it.
Fun side story there.
Really fun side story.
Real fun side. You already know what I'm talking about. So I erased Matt's game, and like, okay, so I have no excuse. Like, okay, so I'm a millennial. I've been gaming since Nintendo 1.
Yes.
And I don't mean like Nintendo 1, like they did it. I'm talking like
that was
NES.
back in 2011. You've been gaming since
won.
then. You did it.
Who won this year? So I load up his profile. I've never used like actually I haven't used a Nintendo console since the Wii.
This is the Wii U.
But again, like no excuse. I'm well familiar with player profiles. Again, it didn't give me too much warning. I didn't like physically delete any files, but like I had to have a really heartbreaking conversation with Matt when I was like, Matt, remember all of those hours you spent playing Zelda? Well, they're gone.
How was my reaction?
You seemed bothered, but still very. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was driving.
Matt
pulled over to the side of the road.
He's a nice boy.
I did Bluetooth. You sitting down? Yeah, man. I had deleted your Zelda save. What was that? Oh, that was
my dog.
Yeah,
that was Rippy.
Bad Rippy.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because like Al was like, "How did he react?" I was like, like you would expect, like the exact same as I would have. Like I was really sad.
Just at the mall.
Yeah. Cut to Matt at the mall, mowing down the public.
He took it pretty well. Just psycho.
So yeah, Matt reacted like a champion. He's a great guy. Here's his number.
Matt won.
Here's his lists of fears and likes, his turn-ons and turn-offs.
The dark. In
Be
all
friends
of
with
those
Matt.
things. Turn-ons, and I'm afraid of the dark.
Yeah, honestly, I was really like, I thought about even texting about it. I was like, no, I can't text Matt. Like, dude, I erase your game. Like, I was like, I have to call him. Like, even better, I probably should have like got together with you over coffee.
Broke up with me.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, or just like, you know, when you fuck up in a relationship, so like you're not interested in breaking up, but you're expecting to get broken up with. That's what that would have been like.
Right.
Or like I cheated on you or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I thought
on the plus side, Matt was like, I thought like somebody died or like
someone got hurt or someone's sick or something. Like you're like, hey man, and it's like I hear it in your voice, you're gonna tell me some bad news, and I was like, oh okay. So I set myself
coffee on my fucking Wii U.
Yeah,
Great.
I was like, oh man, you threw up on my Wii U? Not again.
I got drunk and threw up all over your Wii U. And now it works.
That's actually a story for another time.
That is another story for another beautiful time.
So we're gonna cut the Zelda conversation off a little short because we do want to save quite a bit of content, because that's gonna be a full episode in itself.
That's right.
I think I'm gonna skip right into Persona 5, just because. So this came out at the end of March, and this one is more of a turn-based Japanese-style role-playing game. So this one, I wasn't super familiar with the series for Persona 1, 2, and I heard of it at 3. Never played 3. I played 4 when it got ported to Vita, so it was Persona 4 Golden, and I put like 50, 60 hours into that one. I still didn't finish it. It is really good. It's worth playing. And apparently this one is even better. So the gentleman at IGN who did the review, so this game came out last fall in Japan. He imported it, beat it, not only beat it, platinumed it, which requires 2 playthroughs. He doesn't even know how to read Japanese. He would just... He understood, okay, that means potion.
Oh my
this
God.
means this. He goes, I didn't know really what the story was all about. And then when it came out in English this March, he beat it again and platinumed it.
Oh my God.
In 2 different languages.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so the game is getting really, really great reviews, and it has a really cool art style. It's very anime in terms of the cutscenes. So it's really, really cool in that sense. But like, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it in terms of, would you be interested in playing because apparently this one's like a 60, 70 hour game.
Yeah, it's like 100 hours or so. Yeah,
and that's to be like if you're to do like a bunch of the side missions and everything like that, 100 hours. So does that speak to you in terms of like, do you want to play a turn-based style game for 100 hours?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Turn-based for 100 hours, that's a good question. Okay, so here's what appealed to me about the review that you sent me.
Right.
It kind of reminded me of like Dragon Warrior Monsters, of like Pokemon or whatever, where you're catching their personas.
That's right.
And then combining them to make like unique, like I want to call them creatures based on like Dragon Warrior Monsters, but like they're, I guess, more unique personas.
Right. So you collect different creatures. Again, if it's as similar as to Persona 4, that's right. So you have your main character, but you also have like your party, which are a bunch of like high school students, and you're trying to you have like your day-to-day classes, but then you go out and you have a part-time job, or you can go and do like these whatever. But then at night, that's when you go into people's their minds or their hearts, and you're trying to like show them the error of their ways, so to speak. But in the meantime, each of your party members, I think, is related to a persona. So you can unequip that persona and equip a new one in the same way you have like whatever Pokemon or like Dragon Warrior Monster. So it is like similar in that sense. And I just don't, where I am in my life, I don't know if I can do the 100-hour thing. Even though I just said I played Zelda for like 55 hours, but that was something very special. Yeah,
exactly. Those, even like interesting thought. Sorry to go back to Zelda really quick, but I was trying to gauge whether or not I would still enjoy Zelda Breath of the Wild if I wasn't all about those games when I was a kid, because there's so much enjoyment for me that's like either like Easter eggs from past Zelda games, or just like the feelings that it gives me. The feeling.
Yikes. No, I know what you mean. Like, it's the nostalgia, right? The idea of seeing the Master Sword or seeing Link, like, you know what I mean? Like, or like Hyrule Castle.
The music, like the mood and I guess like, again, atmosphere that they create is special. It's different from other games that I could find on the market. And again, like I was trying to figure out if that like naturally appeals to me, or if I feel like it's because of my childhood in Zelda that I enjoy it so much.
Right. It can be a little bit of both, right? Because there is that lineage to what Breath of the Wild is, right? Where you got to see a natural evolution of a series that was top-down 8-bit in 1987, I think it came out, or 86, I forget. I think 86 Japan, 87 in North America.
Let's fucking find out.
If you Google the Mudmen one more time, I'm gonna slap you.
How many U's in Mudmen?
Like when people like Google in front of things.
The Mudmen.
So, I think that it's a piece of nostalgia that adds to it, so you get a little bit more. But I think that if this
86.
was 86. Wait, but is that Japan or is that 87?
It just says released in 86.
But I think it's 87
in North America.
I think so. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember. I'll look that up.
Into 19 entries in the game consoles as well as spin-offs.
Okay, I'll look it up. So the idea of this thread that exists right between like all the games. So we got to see like this game grew up with us. So I think that there is a part of it that is that nostalgia piece for all intents and purposes. But I think if this was someone's first Zelda, I think that's okay. I think that this game would still be like, wow, like this is something special, right? In terms of like I've talked to like yourself, but also two other friends of mine that have beat the game, and even like the way. One of them especially is a giant Zelda fan. The other is like kind of like in the middle somewhere.
Right.
But they both thought it was like amazing. So,
right.
Even to touch upon like we had talked about, there's a puzzle on the Great Plateau where you start and you need to figure out how to get to the shrine up at the top, but it's too cold. So yourself and myself, we had read the guy's diary, so he's saying like, if you can figure out how to cook this dish, I'll give you my jacket. So we did that. We cooked it and gave it to him. He wore the jacket, and we were fine to get up there. But the other two, they handled it in two different ways. So one, there's these spicy peppers you can cook and then eat, and then it'll protect you from the cold.
Right.
He did that all the way up to the shrine. My other
time limit.
Yeah, that's right. So like each time you eat one, it gives you whatever 3.5 minutes to go. So he
Right.
stocked up.
Yeah.
And then my other friend, he had he held a torch all the way up to the top. And
Right.
the fire, the warmth from the fire, like that's just a cool idea in itself.
Yeah.
Like that idea to figure out a puzzle in 3 different ways without talking to each other, but also that the physics work in that sense, right? That the fire heats you up in a cold environment,
Right,
Or you
right.
can wear clothes like that. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, like actually segue back into Persona 5. While I was playing Zelda, there were moments too where I was asking like, this feels too childish for me now. But then it's interesting because beating the game without any guides, like solving, like as soon as I'd solve a puzzle, I'd be like, there is nothing childish about what I just did right there.
I might be the smartest man in the world.
I could possibly be. Yeah, so like I would solve these and I'm trying to picture like, you know, an 8-year-old like trying to figure these things out. And
Right.
Again, like even some of these
Can you
problems.
stop picturing 8-year-olds at any time when you're doing
I
anything?
guess I brought that up a couple times. That's okay. It's okay when you've got a cat. That's what I read. In People magazine. So yeah, like I bounce back and forth between like obviously the art style. Like I could get behind the art style, but like I just like I guess like in terms of the dialogue or like the things that you're doing, a lot of like times I'm like just thinking like, okay, I'm playing for pure nostalgia at this point. Like, this is a pretty childish game. And then again, like moments or things will happen. I think it's a very PG. Like these monsters are very like cartoony and
Right.
like there's no blood or anything like that for the most part. There's no like even like gouging or stabbing of any kind. Like there's like no gore. And so sometimes I'm like thinking like, have I outgrown this? And then again, like I'll solve like a hardcore puzzle. So getting back to Persona 5, like I feel like 10, 15 years ago, that's probably something I'd be pretty excited to play entirely when I had like complete summers off, like between school or whatever. I don't know if I have the interest, like even when I was watching the reviews, like the like Japanese like hyper ADD like pop ups and like and like everything's so like flashy and like if that freaks me out like like nowadays, whereas like when I was a kid I was like colors. So yeah, like or like the characters or whatever. But so like to answer your question, sure, Persona 5, yay, 10 or 15 years ago, probably not nowadays.
Right. I think if there wasn't so like we're probably about 3/4 done this list now. If there wasn't so much to play and to do, like you know, we each have our day jobs as well. That I think I'd be balls to the walls for this game. Just,
yeah, exactly.
And I think I'll get to it in the fall. We'll see, or maybe towards the end of the summer. But this kind of brings me into another long RPG. This is more of a Western RPG, but this is Mass Effect Andromeda, and I believe that this is one of the games that in one of our videos you had talked about you had missed this series. Like you didn't play 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
But that was one that you'd wanted to get to.
Yes.
So this is the continuation of this particular series, but it's a nice entry point for some or for new players because it doesn't overly reference 1, 2, and 3 because in this particular game you've gone to a new galaxy. So humanity and the entire galaxy, all the races are in. There's a threat called the Reapers, and they're looking at taking out all organic life.
Right.
So in order to keep life going, they send out these arcs/pods out to a new galaxy to run from the Reapers. So technically, the people that have left, they don't know the outcome of 2 and 3. So they don't reference those games. So you don't have to have that kind of knowledge to play them. So it is a nice entry point. And actually do own this one. So, but a friend of mine is actually playing it right now. And this will probably be the next one I jump into, this one or Horizon, depending on how fast he can finish up Mass Effect. But again, this is another like 50, 60 hour game.
Right.
So this is that's the part that scares me about like jumping in, is that whenever I play an RPG, I feel I get like that 20 hours and I love it, but like something else comes up or something work related or something family related.
Right.
And then it's hard to get back into that game. Let's say if I put it down for 2-3 months, I'm like, what the hell's happening? Why is that character telling me this again? I don't remember this quest at all. So I'm not sure if this game, like it looks great in terms of the actual like graphics, like when we're looking at characters and etc. But at the same time, like there's been a lot of discussion about the the facial animations and the just animations in general, and
Right,
graphic hiccups in terms of like popping and etc.
Yeah, you're showing me the crab walk earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we just looked at a video of the crab walk.
I wonder if that's been fixed in a patch though. Like, there's no way.
I think that there has been. So
Yeah.
they've released, I think, 2 big patches for Mass Effect Andromeda already since like the release, because people had found like these, if you turn left and right too fast, then your character's legs almost split and they start like walking like a crab, I guess. Like it looks weird, or the walking up the stairs looks super unnatural.
Right.
And like stuff like little things like that, like it's almost easy to be like that's okay. The game's still really good.
Right.
But that's what changes a game from like a 7 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10.
Right.
Are those little things that build the world for you, right?
Right.
So again, is this something that you want to look into, or I'm curious, as someone that didn't play 1, 2, and 3, would you jump into Andromeda without playing 1, 2, and 3 based on the information I told you? Okay.
No, I would not. Yeah, I would. My plan this summer is to at least do Mass Effect 1.
Right.
That's like my goal.
Get a
Like,
solid 10 to 12 hour sleep every day.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That's your summer goal. Right.
Summer
on.
goals.
Yeah.
I'll show you my diary later.
Right. I've seen it.
Okay, good. That'll save some time. So, Mass Effect. I don't know. Andromeda look great to me. Again, like I'm a big fan of that like style of game. I love sci-fi. I think I'd still find like even based on the negative feedback on Andromeda. Yeah. It still looks awesome to me.
Right. And especially because like you like Knights of the Old Republic so much, and so this isn't the same studio, but it is BioWare.
Right.
And the studio that did Knights of the Old Republic did 1, 2, and 3,
right.
I believe. Yeah, Casey Hudson. And so this is actually a different studio. This is a studio that they opened that didn't have. This is their first game. They did support for stuff.
Right. Yeah, it does look high octane,
Right.
like aiming over like things like.
It definitely became more actiony than RPG, and that's okay. I think it is really, really fun.
Still, like Andromeda looks like it has like its fair share though of like extra stuff. Like one of my favorite parts of like Knights of the Republic is like playing Pazak, like that card game.
Right.
I spent like way too many hours doing that, and I think we already talked about that before. But in this one, it's got like a Sudoku, and I like Sudoku too.
Right.
Like that shit is badass. Like I like in games like BioShock 1 had that like pipe dream game.
Totally like for hacking.
Hacking. I love little things like a game inside games because like I still love the roots of gaming, but I can only take so much. So like having little bits and pieces of it as much as I want to absorb that in a game is like such a cool concept to me.
Totally.
We're like doing an RPG game in like an open world, and then like you stumble upon like a horseshoe game or a card game or whatever. Like that's awesome.
You just want more Red Dead, right?
I just want, that's exactly what I was thinking of when I said that.
Next year.
Poker. I know, I'm so excited for Red Dead 2.
It's like March next year, I think. Or
Yeah, I think
first
so.
quarter.
Or no, the last time I read, it was December this year.
They just delayed it last week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for that patiently.
Yeah. So moving on, we're looking at Yooka-Laylee. So Yooka-Laylee, this one,
Banjo-Kazooie.
that's right. So it is a few of the original Rare team broke off from Rare, I believe, a little while ago, and even like as the original composer and everything like that. And it is like more like that collectathon game from a different era. So it looks really like sharp in terms of like the graphics, are very up to date. But it is collecting, like instead of notes, it's like feathers, and instead of the puzzle pieces, it's pages from a book. And this one was actually a Kickstarter, so this one was really kind of a cool story. Where
Tell that I gotta pee.
Okay, and so with Yooka-Laylee, they had put out three mascot platformers seem to have gone the way of the dodo, so to speak, and this was an interesting way to see if there is interest in playing this one. And this one I actually do have. This one I have experience playing in, and I'm at the 5th world, and there's only 5 worlds to this game, which is a little short. I'm probably about 10 hours in, but you could probably even do it a little bit less. They actually patched the controls and the camera a little bit in the last 2-3 weeks, and it made the game infinitely better, because the first time I booted up, it was very, very rough around the edges. It is a very, very solid game if you remember like the Banjo-Kazooie or the Donkey Kong 64. If you remember those games very fondly, I think it is worth checking out. It is more of a budget title at about $50 Canadian, so I think 40 in the States. But just...
I peed on my hand.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Just got a little bit on there.
noticed you didn't wash your hands. Didn't hear it in the sink. Go on.
I did, yeah.
Did you? Okay.
I did.
Maybe I was in the zone.
Yeah, I think you're in the zone.
So just explaining the Kickstarter backing for ukulele. So to see if this type of game, is there a market for this type of game anymore, right? So where you're just collecting things and it's this mascot platformer. So it's a chameleon and a bat, like a fruit bat or something that's on the head. Again, very Banjo-Kazooie-esque.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so as well. Like, I think that it did well enough in terms of sales that hopefully it does get its own.
And we might not be their key demographic, but I could still see it selling. Did you talk about the Unity engine yet?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so this game was built. Well, Matt was telling me, I haven't looked into this at all, but in Unity engine, which is what I use to make games. And so when I was watching the review, I was like, holy shit, Unity could do that? Like, but at the same time, it was really interesting that they were talking, the reviewer, who was Marty Sleva, was talking about the rough edges of like the physics. And so Unity uses PhysX, which actually, in my experience playing games with the PhysX engine, are fantastic. Mafia 2 used PhysX, and like they're some of like the better physics that I've seen in terms of like automobiles, shocks, like stuff like that, or like feeling weight to your character. So like they're not renowned for being, you know, a bad like component of video games.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting. Like there's so many different ways to program with that. Like I guess you could call it an API, but with the Unity physics. But like, so I'm not sure if who's at fault. Is it like the programmers? Right. Or the PhysX engine itself.
I think that game has only been in development for like a year and a half. So I don't, and it's a small team. So I think I think that's kind of where it was getting down to at the end of the day.
Right.
They just didn't have the time nor like the funding. Right. So like again, this was kickstarted, which I think is a really cool story. I like the idea of Kickstarter. Actually, I don't like the idea of Kickstarter, but I do.
Right. Yeah, we've had this business discussion a couple times.
Yeah, exactly.
Over cocktails.
Yeah. Usually around 4 a.m. when I'm really laying into the business theory. But yeah, like I said, it's charming is the best way I can put it.
Charming,
it's fun. It's fun and charming. It's a good weekend game, but other than that, like it's nothing to write home about. I hope they do make another one. I hope they get another crack at making a Ukulele 2 or whatever they decide to call it, because there is something special about that style of game from the past, right? Like that Sly Cooper or Spyro the Dragon or Crash Bandicoot or whatever. Like we don't get those 3D character, like, you know, cartoon mascot type of games anymore.
Right. So
I'm really interested to see like how this does and what the feedback from the community happens to be with this game, because I think it could go either way. There's actually a really, really fun part. Well, the characters are really well designed. So there's a snake.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I own this one. So this one I'm on World 5, so I'm right at the end of the game.
Okay.
There's a snake who sells you items, or like not items, I guess, but moves to do.
Like drugs?
That's right. He acts like a drug dealer, like a lot of like
nice.
the lines. He's like a drug dealer / used car salesman. The way he talks,
Rated for everybody.
But he's a snake. His name is Trouser, which is awesome.
Perfect.
Like a trouser snake.
Oh, okay, right.
Which is awesome.
I didn't put that together at first.
And then he's wearing pants, but since he's like a snake, he's only got like the straight line body.
Right.
So it goes through one leg of the pants, and then it goes up through the other leg of the pants, so he's still wearing pants. So there's like, again, it's charming, right?
Right.
And then
like Conger's Bad Fur Day.
It's
charming.
That no, there's no poo. There's no like big poo battle.
That game ruled. I love that game.
It's something
so funny.
It's so weird. Like
you don't see too many comedy games.
Right. There's like the South Park is like their last like really big one.
Yeah.
And they have a new South Park that's coming out this year. Fractured. So fractured butthole. Like, but fractured butt hole.
Okay. Right.
Right.
Fractured butthole.
Right. Exactly.
Nice. They did it.
So there's also this other character, and his name is Rextro, and he looks like an N64 character. Like he's all like polygonal.
Right.
And he's in charge of the arcade. So, and he only has so much memory as well. So he sometimes doesn't remember you.
Right.
Because his limitation in terms of his characters. They've really made fun of him for that. He's like retro games are still like super fun, and it's
right.
It is really cute. Like I said, it's cool. But speaking of mascot platformers, I kind of wanted to move into, this is an old game but re-released. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So this one's a relatively new one that just came out for probably the latest big game that came out for the Nintendo Switch. So we haven't had a chance to play the deluxe version, but we both played quite a bit of like Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U. So we're not going to talk about this one too much, but just in the sense of it was a great game then, still a great game now, just with extra characters, extra courses, and then the addition of battle mode.
Right. Yes.
So
which is cool.
Totally. And the last one had battle mode as well, but a very, very dumbed down version of battle mode.
Right.
So this one added, I think, fixed a lot of the complaints that people had about that piece, but remaining the core game intact.
Right.
So it's hard for me to recommend this one because unless you didn't play the original. So there's such a little amount added to a game that how do you recommend something like that? If you've already played the hell out of Mario Kart 8, I don't really think you need Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Right.
Unless you're really hurting for something to play on the Switch.
Right.
Because there's not
unless you're really bored of it, but you're still all about it.
Totally.
You want that extra content.
Or like to have it like on the go because the Switch is like a portable system.
Yeah.
So like that would be kind of cool. But at the same time, Mario Kart for me is like the multiplayer, like having the couch co-op kind of idea where like we're both racing for the gold, obviously, but having one person F up the rest of the racers while the other person goes for first place.
Right.
Or battling out. And it's a couch game for me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So I'm not sure if you want to touch a little bit upon Mario Kart 8.
Yeah. When I was watching the review you sent me again, I was really impressed with the battle mode. Like when I was a kid, that was one of my favorite parts of like the Nintendo 64 version was battle.
Right.
And so. So I just remember like sleepovers with friends and just like playing Mario Kart battle all night, like for hours, and that was a blast. So that was cool to see in like, you know, obviously like a newer generation console, and like it looks like they went pretty in depth with like the deluxe version in terms of the battle. There's some really interesting stuff in there. Bots in the battle mode, which I found very interesting.
Right, kind of.
Multiplayer, you know, actually, if it's anything I'd like to talk about in terms of like Nintendo as a whole is like multiplayer. And so I don't have a Nintendo, you do. I know like you and I like our single player games. We also play quite a bit online. So with Nintendo, like I don't even know if that's a thing or if lots of people do it. I remember you had mentioned you did some Nintendo online, but every time I like watch a review on a lot of Nintendo games, there's a lot of complaints about the multiplayer, which I find really interesting. So like, again, they're like, we started playing online with like PS2. That's right. So that's when the Wii was out.
Metal Gear 3. And
I don't even think you could play online with the Wii, right? I think there was like a weird Ethernet.
There is, yeah, because I remember you can, but there's no. They don't have the infrastructure behind them, right?
Right, yeah. There's no like PSN or like you know interface for it. Yeah,
exactly.
You can't squat up with your buddies and yeah, no voice chat.
No voice chat. Like that's insane. In 2017, the idea of not being able to speak to your party members in like a game like Mario Kart to like either taunt or like to coordinate like a strategy. If you're playing like the one really cool addition of the battle mode is there's like a cops and robbers style type of game where it's team based, but if you can't talk to to say like, hey, they put me in jail. I think you can maybe like hit a button that says like I'm in jail or something like that, but.
Which is fine, yeah, but
that's such like a band-aid over like over a leak in your boat. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that Nintendo really has to prove what they have for their back-end service for what they want to do for online.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And they actually just announced last week that so it was supposed to come out in the fall. Their online suite. It has now been pushed back to early next year without a release date, which is insane. That means like their system will have come out to Switch without a proper online service for almost the first year of its life.
Right.
Which is maybe signs that they rushed this product to market. I know the Wii U was tanking in terms of like the amount of sales. I think they sold like 13 million total, and that's like half of the GameCube, and then people thought the GameCube was a failure.
Right.
So that's insane.
Right.
So it's up to like a really great start. Like the Switch is really like sold out everywhere. It's a really interesting story, and I think it's like a super cool console. But maybe a little rush to market to get something new out there for the masses.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I have no experience there, but I was always curious. I do quite a bit of online gaming. So, and yeah, like having that infrastructure, like you were saying, is really important to me. I play on Steam. Yep. We do PSN. So like, we're always like getting, like, I couldn't imagine how frustrating it would be if like, okay, Matt, like, you know, and like I'm on a cell phone. Like, okay, join server US Boston 993.
Is that gum? Is that gum?
You're just talking about MGS.
Metal Gear Solid 3. That's right.
Oh man, we had such good times.
You can name your own server.
That's when Matt and I were at the prime of our game. Like we were like top 2 like every single game back in the day.
It was so good.
But that was before like 360 quick scopes and shit like that. Like we're just way out of it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to.
I think that was it.
The Metal Gear Solid thing jumped in my head. Actually, they're what they're looking at doing. At least this is the rumor is that for their communication service for Nintendo, you have to plug into your phone, and it's an app.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Don't like that. What if I'm on like minutes, or what if I have like a?
I think they assume that you're in Wi-Fi. If you're playing.
I suppose. Yep.
So
what if my battery's dying, or like how much wear and tear is that going to put on your phone? Like those fucking things don't last forever.
Exactly.
You talk on your phone for hours. That's like days of that lifespan gone on that phone.
Right.
Don't like that. I'm glad they're into it. You know what I found interesting about Nintendo, in terms of like online or like any kind of networking was, and my friends, you know, Matt Obang, he had the 3DS.
Yeah.
And so like you could be walking around and like apparently you could like
Street Pass.
Yeah, that. I thought that was interesting.
I agree. I'm so surprised they didn't incorporate that into the Switch.
Right.
With it being so mobile.
Right.
I'm floored. They Nintendo seems to like take like 2 steps forward but 1 back. So
Right.
they're always progressing. It's just slower than what you'd like.
Right.
I do want to jump into this is one we just kind of looked at together. That we haven't played this one.
Friday the 13th.
But Friday the 13th just came out on so not this past weekend but last week.
For which consoles?
That was on the 26th. This one is Xbox One, PS4, and PC.
Awesome.
And so this one again we talked about Kickstarter. This was a Kickstarter game as well, and they had originally just wanted to pay homage to the Friday the 13th series by making these camp counselors run away from this monster overpowered man.
Now I want to make a game where it's like children running away from the camp counselor. Like, he's not even evil. He's like the nicest guy, but like kind of dorky.
Keep it
together. Trying to round up the kids. Yeah. Like, sorry, continue.
So they, the people who had the Friday the 13th license really liked the game that much that they allow them to take the license and apply it to their game.
Yeah, that's badass.
Which is super cool. Mm-hmm. And then so they did the Kickstarter piece, which is great, and it just got released. So this is actually one that we were talking about right before we started recording. This one I'd like to pick up like this week. This one's I think $50 or something.
I'm game if you are. I when I was watching the thing, like Matt said early on, like online only, and I was watching it, and just like every second that went by, I was like, this is gonna be great. It looks so scary / fun / interesting. Like, so the concept of like, and you and I played like games like Slender, the beginning, not the sequel or whatever that came out, but like the crappy graphic, obviously built in Unity with like
8 pages.
Stock, 8 pages. Thank you. And like that was, I had to finish it. Like at one point, like he came out. And like it was the crappy 3D model, and I like just closed the laptop.
I know,
because I was terrified. So like this is like you're being pursued by Jason, and you're online players. So Jason is being played by a human player.
That's right.
And you're the teenagers.
That's right.
Which I love.
The children.
It's so funny. And
they're
like,
even modeled funny. Like they have like the sweater tied around like the shirt. It's like super like 80s.
80s, yeah, exactly. Well, like I thought that it looks like, so there were complaints, like even in the review that we did, and you had mentioned there was a patch, which was awesome, because that can ruin a game for the most part. But honestly, a game like this, even if it did bug out, I think I'd still get like the same amount of like entertainment from it.
Totally.
Like funny shit like that happens. It's a fun story. Like in a game like that, whereas like if I'm playing a single player game and I like was hammering on this one puzzle for an hour and then I had to backtrack an hour because the game bugged out, not cool. But like for a game like that, like if you see like floating characters or like they're hilariously like animating out of control.
Right, or they're dead in the ground, someone walks by and they
do like a flip.
Yeah.
Those physics, though. But yeah, so this one looks ridiculously fun. I'm super interested in picking it up and playing it, especially like while it's hot. So like I want to get on while all kinds of people are playing.
Right, and then so just to add on to that, the concept again is 7 versus 1, and then it's 7 counselors and obviously 1 Jason, and so you can escape, I think, through 4 different ways. I think you can escape via a car, you can escape via a boat, I think you can call the cops, or you can wait until morning.
Right.
So then you technically escape or whatever.
Right.
And a really cool mechanic is that so if you escape through the car, there's only 4 or 5 seats.
Right.
So if there's still 7 of you alive, you kind of just screw you have to screw like them out, and then the other 2 remaining have to wait to try and wait it out till morning or whatever in terms of the time left in that particular game.
I would take one for the team. If it was all about, like, let's say you, me, and like Al were playing, and there was like this online guy that was playing as Jason, and like it came down to it, and we're all like booking it for the car, I would be like, I want that online player to not win. Right. So like, you guys do it,
and we're already gone before you had a chance to give us the speech.
Yeah. So you got what I thought was really cool too is like there's still gameplay after that. So like you and Alex and a few other online players could escape, and like I'm left on the island or whatever, but there's still gameplay after that. And I forget exactly how that went, but that was super cool.
Totally. I think it's cool. And then the like the kills are like super interesting, like in terms of like it was designed by Tom Savini, who like actually did like a lot of the practical effects for like that era of movies, like the Night of the Living Dead and like up to whatever. I think he's still doing stuff. The last one I do remember him doing, again, this is a long time ago, but this is Dawn of the Dead. Or not Dawn of the Dead, sorry. What's that Tarantino one he like produced? Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn. He did like the practical effects in that movie.
Oh, right. That's what I thought you meant when you said, but yeah, no, you're totally right.
Dawn of the Dead,
yeah. Dawn of the Dead, yeah.
But I meant Dusk Till Dawn. But so we might have a little bit more to touch upon in this game in a little bit, because we don't know a ton about this one, because this one has just been released. So we'll keep you. Maybe it's like super crappy, but it looks like super fun. Like, maybe it gets old really fast, but like to me it looks like super hilarious. The idea of like hiding under a bed while like being pursued by Jason or whatever. Yeah. Or being Jason, like that seems like super like interesting. The review that we had watched, he said like that's the funnest part of the game is being Jason. Right. I think the funnest part of the game is going to be like being the counselors. Yeah, like, absolutely. Not that you have a lot of powers or anything like that, like, but I think the idea of being pursued by or like trying to work together with 6 other people, and 7 including yourself. Yeah, sounds like just super interesting.
Yeah. If I was like a lone gamer and I was really not interested in working cooperatively with teammates, I'd probably be all about Jason as well.
Totally, 100%.
But yeah, it'd be cool to like get band together and frig him up.
It's so funny, like, because I've heard you like not swear, like when you're actively being like, you know what, I'm not gonna say it, but then
I kind of do.
But no, like 3 times before that where you didn't catch yourself, and I hear you drop it, and I'm like, dude, don't even worry about it, man. It's all good.
I'm a passionate person.
I know you are. You're just jumping in.
I want to talk about it.
Okay. So we're gonna try and, from Friday the 13th, because we can still talk about Friday the 13th and maybe a little bit of Resident Evil, we want to talk a little bit the state of horror survival type of games. So I believe that in 2017, there's 2 different types of horror game now, and some subgenres of each. But so there's either the new style where you have no weapons and you're hiding from enemies. So kind of like when we talked about the Friday the 13th.
Right. Outlast and whatnot. Yeah.
Outlast, Alien Isolation, where you're hiding in lockers, and it's very, very slow paced, but like the tension is just so much. Right. Like where it's a little bit too much for me. Where to have a whole game like that. Yeah. And then the new ones are more like a Dead Space, where you have weapons at your disposal, and older Resident Evils, and Resident Evil 7 actually kind of marries both those together very well, where if the Baker family is hunting you down, you can't necessarily kill them, so you can stun them or whatever, or sneak by. I think we just snuck by like when they were being pursued, right? Which again, like, is building that tension in you, and it's a little much. But then you get the release of it, because then there are like the more like action parts, or you can kill like the mud people, or like actually having a boss battle, versus the other games where there is like no boss battle really. Like you are running away to the exit. You're going from point A to point B, and that's your only goal. Right. And it's to play, like, I think Alien Isolation is like 15 hours. I don't think I could play that type of game for 15 hours. I love Alien. Alien's gonna be great. Yeah. So is there anything that you prefer between the two? Like, do you prefer like that old school approach, or do you do more like that. The evolution of where it's going, think of PT. Like PT was like super great, but it had like that more new school mentality of like just being vulnerable.
Absolutely. My opinion is twofold, and like, okay, so at the end of the day, I prefer to play a game where I've got guns and I'm blowing away scary monsters. Right. That's what I prefer, but it's not for any other reason except like in my older age, I'm a bigger weenie. So like my heart literally can't take it. Like the PT, like the playable teaser for Silent Hills that came out.
Yes.
Like I didn't get through it. B, the first time I played it, I screamed the loudest and girliest I think I've ever screamed in my life when the lady like picks you up.
And that's something. That's saying something.
And I screen captured that.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time even watching that screen capture because I'm too scared. It's messed up.
Can we put it in here?
No. Just kidding. Yeah, we can. No, we can. I kept it. I'm just kidding. I don't want the world to know. So, okay, but that's not to say that these game designers are doing their job to the best degree. Like they're doing such an amazing job that it stresses me out too much to play them, which is too bad because honestly, these games, like again, I'm super interested, just like anybody's interested in watching like a really interesting scary movie or whatever. It just like, it really stresses me out to the point where like my chest hurts.
Right.
It sucks because I want to play them so bad. Like I would love to play Silent Hills. If that game ever came out, I probably would put up with it just because like I've always had a great time with the whole series. They're like super hyper creative people that are always giving me something new. And so that's they got split up into different companies, and so there's different things to say about the different ones. But the point is, I prefer the ones where I've like the more traditional style, just because I'm a weenie. That's it. Like, if I could handle those other ones, I'd be all about them. They're really well crafted, pieces of art.
And I think in this. The exact same thing for me. I think even to like that to that next level was that VR point you had made earlier. I just wouldn't be able to handle it.
Right.
Even with having the weapons at my disposal in Resident Evil, I don't think I could handle even the moments where there's no threat of dying. You know, when you're sitting at that table with them, they're having like the dinner and they're going insane, and she does like the knife thing at your face.
Right.
She's like, ha! She's just like losing it. Ha! And
that'd be nuts in VR.
Once that scene ended, I was like, man, what happens if we were playing this in VR?
Oh yeah.
I literally would have like smoked my head off the wall or something like when it came at me.
Physically injured.
Yeah, exactly. Or then just got like dizzy because like I don't know. It's just, apparently VR can make you motion sick. So if I'm moving so much, then I'm just. I
don't know if I could ever do scary games in VR. Like to be honest, I've even watched YouTube videos of people playing scary games in VR, and just like even seeing the absolute terror in their faces is just like I don't think I could ever do it.
Yeah, there was when I was watching, there was two of them I was watching. I think it was called like. It was something about Emily. I can't remember the name of the title, but so you're wandering around this house, and she's like stalking you, this little girl who's like some sort of demon or whatever spirit, and you're like laughing and stuff like that, and then like you'll kind of look over or whatever, and you'll hear a laughter, and you look over, and you have to when she's in the room with you, and you have to look at her before she kills you.
Right.
So if you see her, then you keep looking at her, and she like goes away, and then which forces you, I think, to look at. And she doesn't look awful like or anything like that, but then if you don't spot her in time, like I think she jumps on your back or like cuts you or like takes off your health or whatever it happens to be. I only saw a piece of it. I wish I remember the name of it, but it looked really spooky. This other one I had seen was called the Paranormal Activity Experience.
Oh my god!
I know, right? So and I watched, and it was a let's play. And a bunch of different people were playing it. So they'd cut to one person, and the next person, and the next person, like all going through the same situation. And the amount of people that drop their 3D headset, like try to whip it off their head because of like the fear. It's just that doesn't seem. It seems like funny to watch, but not fun to play.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Where I'm like, this is too much for
something
me.
I would do. Like, I'd want to get paid to be that uncomfortable.
Right.
Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'd do it for $20. I would put myself through that much uncomfort and terror for like $25 for like that's per hour though. Like I would give that a measurement. Like I wouldn't beat a terrifying game for $25.
Right.
but I would beat a game for $25 an hour. I just want to make that very clear moving forward, in case anybody's interested in paying me to play video games.
For the we kind of talked about the like multiple people playing whatever the game. So like when we played Resident Evil 7, we didn't play it co-op because you can only play it as one person or single player, but we would trade the controller back and forth. If Resident Evil 7 was multiplayer, do you think it would have been as effective if there was like a co-op mode to it?
Right.
Do you think that takes away the horror/scary factor of a game?
I do. In a big way.
Right.
I think it's still a very cool concept. I do love playing, like, actually I prefer it because my heart can take it. Like,
right.
It, like, okay, so you and I were playing,
was it Resident Evil 5?
No, it was a drop kicking game.
Dying Light.
Dying Light, thank you. Okay, we were playing Dying Light, and honestly, I think you had like a couple of boozes in you or something too, and we were playing like online on the thing.
Why is it just me that have boozes in me?
Because we were playing online over the network, and I think it was like Saturday night or something, and I was sick or something. Dead or sick or whatever. And, and I remember we were in this like spooky area, and I was like getting really scared, and I was like kind of like analyzing all the things and like kind of getting freaked out, and then like when I noticed I thought you were like behind me, and then I noticed that you're like way up forward, and you were just like roaming around, like jumping and like doing like the parkour stuff, and still like, and then I was like, dude, look at this corpse over here, like, whoa, yeah, that's wild. And then we moved on, but like,
right,
okay, so in that same like era, I tried playing the same game by myself, and honestly, it was terrifying. Dying Light by yourself is so scary.
Right. Especially at night, right?
Yes. Like, not even at night. So, like, even in the day, like, there's, you know, they're everywhere. And, like, you know, sometimes you could hear them and you're trying to get something done. And, like, you hear them getting closer. And it's fucking scary. So, but as soon as you're there, it's like that changes dramatically, like the amount of like fear I feel, like, and there are moments, like I said, where like you and I are like in a like very spooky area where I'm like a little bit scared, and maybe you're not, or maybe you're like, you know, analyzing something like that is so crazy, and I'm just like finding items or whatever.
Right.
There's that, I don't know, comfort when you're playing with somebody online.
Right.
So I think it can be done in a way that can make it scary that I haven't really experienced yet.
Right.
I think there's hope for that like concept. Otherwise, again, like those like types of scenarios, I prefer to do co-op. Like even like when we play Resident Evil 7, honestly, I think I'd be 10 times more scared if I was like playing that game solo with headphones or something. We played it and we traded off. So like there were many moments where like, yeah, things probably weren't nearly as scary. But yeah, so like I prefer that. I don't think I would have played it in full if like we weren't trading off.
Right.
Or unless like my girlfriend was with me or some shit. Like
right.
I get too stressed out. So I would love to see that push forward, like that concept.
The Dying Light examples are really good. I think they actually did do a good job for the multiplayers to still have like some tension and some fear.
Right. Especially at night, yeah.
At night is what they do.
Yeah, we were still real scared at night.
I wonder if I still have that footage. Like, do you remember when we were playing one night and we were in it was like a convenience store. I think there was 4 of us playing. And we were like, crouched down, and it was the first time I'd ever seen like the
hunter things.
Yeah, he's like orange. He's a little bit of orange tinge to him or whatever. And we saw it, and we were like whispering to each other like in the mics, and be like, "Holy shit! There's that. What is that?"
Right.
And then,
I have that screen capture or that video still.
I think I have it from my perspective as well. And we were like, "Okay, we need to get back to like a safe point," which is very, very close.
Yeah.
And
it was up on the building, so we had to like climb up.
That's right. And so I think we were like just crouched, and we like slowly walked out, but I think someone like
someone was the goose. I forget who it was.
Yeah, me too. And then it's like, and we're like, ah! And we just like started losing it. And then we like climbing up like the scaffolding on the side of the building. And
the guy fell.
Yeah.
Nobody came back for me.
Sorry, man. I don't think that's true. That sounds made up.
I don't know.
So I think that it can be done. It's just very difficult. Even when we played Resident Evil 5, I think it's the first time I played co-op horror.
Right.
And there was, do you remember we played the demo first?
Yep.
And it was just that one section, and then it's almost like wave based.
Yeah.
But then the guy with the chainsaw comes out, and that's like the guy you beat, and then the demo is like over. Mm-hmm. That piece I thought was still very terrifying.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're right. There's a diminishing point when you're playing just by yourself, where it is the horrors ratcheted up, and then it falls off as the more people are with you, because I think you do feel safer.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is strange, but that's I don't know, kind of an interesting piece. So I agree. I think that I hope that there's room for both, right? It doesn't necessarily in the talks where they were talking about Resident Evil 7. I think that if they made it co-op, I still think it would have been fun. Yeah. I just think like there's two different games, and I think there's room for both.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Is there anything else you want to touch upon for Resident Evil 7?
Okay. Yeah, real quick. Yeah. Really funny. Okay, for anybody who's played it, and like from the videos we watch, I think this is like widespread opinion that when you choose between so like at one point, okay, if I'm explaining this to you, then I'm ruining the game for you.
No, totally. Just go ahead. You can
but yeah, like so.
Ruin away.
What's up with this point where you have to choose between your wife and this strange lady?
I know they're both infected, and you have one cure.
You have one cure. You could choose your wife or this stranger. Like, I love that. I love the weirdness. Like whoever, like the mind behind that, who like decided on that. Like I want to have a conversation with them and just like, can I hang out with you for the day and just kind of like, are you a funny person or like, are you that like out there? Like, do you have like weird like Pee Wee Herman like concoctions in your house? Like you have some weird machines that make you like a breakfast every morning or
your eggs. Yeah,
wow,
man, it was so wacky. Like the decision, like we chose to cure our wife. And then the lady who wasn't your wife gets very upset. Like she's like, oh, she gets very cold or whatever. And I'm like, dude, come on, like
what do you expect?
Yeah. So then you leave with your wife then that's when you get attacked and you're on the boat or whatever. So the choice actually doesn't really make a lot of difference in terms of like the game.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
If you pick like,
it does make minor changes.
We went on YouTube and looked at the other alternatives.
Yes, that's right.
You can pick the whatever the girl,
your non-wife
the
non-wife lady,
and your wife gets very upset as she should. He's like, we'll come back for you, Mia.
She knows her way around the swamp. She's like, yeah, right.
I know. Man, and then the same thing ends up happening where you get attacked on the boat and then you end up on like the big like ship liner. And then the only difference beyond that is I think the ending is a little different, because I think you can you escape with Mia or like without her, like if you don't pick her.
Right.
And then when you're on the boat, she comes and attacks you and has you have like a mini boss fight with her again.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think those are the only real differences at that point to whether you're choosing your wife or non-wife.
Right. We chose the wife.
That's right. I think
we made the right choice. I don't know.
Hard call.
What do you think?
Hard call. Zoe
think?
Zoe was really nice.
She was a nice lady.
Yep.
She helped us through some tough times.
That's right.
Whereas Mia just kept fucking up over and over. Probably because she had some kind of disease. I don't remember.
She did cut off our arm with a chainsaw.
She cut off our arm. What do you want?
So if we were to put a score on Resident Evil 7, what out of our normal 1 to 10, what score would you give Resident Evil 7?
7 out of 10.
And I'm a 6.5. I think there's some really really great ideas. There's just some pieces of it that were very frustrating and some strange design choices. But let us know what you felt about Resident Evil 7 in the comments below, because we're super curious. We have so many questions to the way other people played the game, how they felt about the fear portion. Please, if you've played it in VR, let us know, because we want to. We want to talk to you. We want to know what it's like to play it in VR.
We will give you a hypothetical high five.
That's right. We're doing it right now.
We couldn't do it. You'll have done what Matt and I could not do.
That's right. Too much fear.
Too much oldness and fear. Our tickers can't take it anymore.
I can still feel it now.
I hear you. I'm just thinking about how I'm palpitating.
So please, absolutely leave us some feedback in the bottom. Again, let us know if this format was a little different, if you appreciated the idea of it being a little bit longer in terms of like the discussion piece. How do you we'll release a more short, concise one to contrast us, to see what forms are better, or if we want to do both. I think having both in our arsenal would be probably the best bet. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And again, as always, see you on the field.
Battlefield. Just kidding. We're
Let's go
gonna
play
cut
some
that right
Battlefield.
out.
You're gonna get a sandwich?